Well, let me know where this needs to be. Test, test. Mic check. 1, 2. Is this better? Check. Is it the same? Okay. Excuse me, everybody, while we figure out these audio issues. Hey, everybody upstairs. Can you please turn up the microphone on the dais so they can hear us better? How about that?
Okay, so everybody that comes up to the mic, do it just like Caitlin did so we can hear what you're saying. Okay? All right.
So do they need to take it off of this and stay like this?
I think the point is closer to the mic. It's not a directional mic. It's right in front. It's for like if you're a singing person.
Okay. Not a singing, but in case anybody's speaking, I guess this is an appropriate.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Great. There you go.
Great. I'll just
You did good, Caitlin. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, so I will call this regular meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Kyle Johnson of the Lawton First Assembly and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your goodness and your faithfulness. And Lord, I thank you for these men and women that serve selflessly this community and all of us people. They do such a wonderful job. And so, Lord, for that service, I ask that you bless them. I ask that you watch over them and their families, their coming and their going. Lord, that you keep them united, that they would remain united as they continue to lead this wonderful city. Your word says, if anybody lacks wisdom, all we have to do is ask you, and you give it generously without finding fault. So every discussion, every debate, every decision, may you provide them wisdom as they lead. We thank you. In your Son's name we pray, the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Pastor. And please call the roll.
Chapman. Gill.
Here.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris.
All right, now we have a quorum. Now, Women's History Month proclamation. Who's receiving this? Miss Alberti. All right, come on up. Okay, we'll see if I can do this the way I was directed. Can you hear me? Okay. How are you, Miss?
I'm doing great today.
Are you some kind of wonderful?
Yes.
Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of the nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas women have and continue to play critical roles in the economic, cultural, and social spheres of life by constituting a significant portion of the labor force, working inside and outside of the home, women have played a unique role throughout history by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force. Whereas women are particularly important in the establishment of early charitable and cultural institutions around the world, women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Women have historically played vital roles in creating and building the city of Lawton and continue to be active members of the community today. This would be a good time to bring up Maddie Beal, wouldn't it? And when we think about our founding, who do we think of? We think about Maddie Beal, yeah. Whereas the city of Lawton recognizes the contributions of women from all ethnicities, while also acknowledging that not every group's story was and is the same, and whereas the relevance of current-day suffragists continuing to advocate for equity and inclusion, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Lawton Businesswomen, the League of Women Voters of Lawton, Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women, Mountain Metro AMBUCS, Pioneer Club of Lawton, the Women That Vote Arts Corporation, Theta Upsilon Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, 68, Oklahoma Women Veterans Organization, Lawton Fort Sill Chapter 0116, and Women United for Action continue the legacy of uplifting women everywhere in honor of National Women's History Month. Now therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor City of Lawton, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as National Women's History Month. Let's give Miss Alberti a round of applause, and we appreciate all that you do. Now this is where you get to talk.
Each year we try to focus on someone. Today, this is my heartfelt about the homemakers, how they stay and take care of those children while their family member or husband may be overseas. And sometimes they may be overlooked. They're making homemade crocheting for hospitals or baby caps or something. And so we look at women today that there's no limit on what a woman can do, a place she can be. Places where you thought there was only men, women step up. And so behind, I say every great man, there's a great woman standing beside somewhere.
Right. And apparently that you are the representative of all women in our community because you're here today, and so we're proud to present this to you. God bless you. Thank you for all that you do for our community. Okay? Bye-bye. Let's give her another round.
I believe so. Okay. I think that's what I have. Yeah. Yes.
Now we move on to the reports by the mayor and city council. We'll start with Ward 1, Ms. Hankins.
Whoops, I wasn't as prepared as I usually am. I think everything's going pretty good in Ward 1 right now. Still have a lot of dog problems, and we're working on that. But I think everybody's keeping things picked up. The trash deal looks a little better in Ward 1. So now if we just get some spring weather and grow some green grass, that'll be good.
All right. Ms. Chapman.
Mayor, Council, I was thinking about our police men and women, and every time they get a call to go out someplace, they really never know exactly what kind of situation they're going to encounter. And I was one of those calls this last week. And if you know, I'm on a walker right now because I'm dealing with a fractured pelvis, and my doorbell was ringing. And when I'm looking at my security cameras, I knew the man with the bright green hair did not belong on my front porch. Called the police, nice lady walking with me as I'm trying to move at a snail's pace to get questions answered, and checking my security, checking my alarm, checking my doors and make sure that they're going and locked and everything. And very, very shortly, 2 police cars and 3 policemen came to my front porch and encountered this gentleman and dealt with him. And it just made me think that every single day our police go out and really don't know what they're going to experience. But I was very thankful, Chief Smith. I don't know who those 3 gentlemen were, but I wish I did to thank them personally. So thank you.
Right, great. Thank you, Ms. Chapman. Mr. Gill.
Well, I'll follow up on that. I had encounters with both police and fire department this weekend. Both did a fine job, responded very quickly on both issues, so they are working hard, doing a good job. And the east side of Lawton is alive and well. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to give a shout out to the farmers market. Try to make it out. It seems becoming a very, very good gathering place, a good place to meet other Lawtonians. And then driving around the ward, I see a lot of city trucks that are providing services for the citizens, and I want to give out a shout out to all those men and women that are doing what they can for the citizens and the city staff. Well, I also want to give a shout out to, I mentioned Charlotte sending us an email. I appreciate all the city staff and administration that do all they do when they come, and we should always remember them. You see them around, just give them a little thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Fortenbaugh.
Just a couple of things. The water distribution people, I got a call from a gentleman in my ward, and water was leaking out of his yard rapidly, and gave me the address, and he said, I don't know what to do. So I called it in to water distribution, and I drove over there. I'm not sure how all this got timed out, but when I got there, there was a City of Lawton employee in a backhoe waiting for the utility locates to be done, and he was going to dig it up and fix it. So I don't know how that happened in like 5 minutes, but that's amazing. Also, really quick, I want to give some recognition to our local media here, including Eric from the Southwest Ledger, Kim from the paper, KSWO. I don't think they're here, but they're usually
Yeah, they're back there.
Well, you too, KSWO. And what it is we usually feel comfortable talking to them. And I absolutely do, because whatever I tell them, they don't add on to that or twist the story around. They quote us accurately. And so there's a certain amount of trust between us and them. And I don't mind talking to them because I'm not worried what they're going to say. They're going to say what I said. I would like to see more interaction. There was a time when we were on KSWO once a week, I think. A council member was there talking about whatever the issue was that week. I wish we could do that again. The media is the main way that we get out information about what we're doing. And frankly, watching this meeting, a person doesn't see all the staff time that went into these things that we're taking action on here. They don't see the backstory. But the media is a great way to get a lot of accurate information out. And so hopefully there's more of that, and look forward to talking to you guys some more in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Fortenbaugh. Ms. Johnson?
The Ranch Oak Association meeting will be held today at 6 p.m. at Providence Missionary Baptist Church at 2 Southeast Lee Boulevard. And this is their monthly meeting. So if you live in the Ranch Oak area, they'd love for you to attend.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Warren?
Mainly would like to apologize to anybody that sent an email recently. I've been technologically hampered, and everything's working now, so I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. The other thing is, I'd like to congratulate previous city councilman, previous Oklahoma Senator, Randy Bass. It appears that Mr. Bass is going to be inducted into the Japan Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. And so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, that's neat. And it'll say he's from Lawton, Oklahoma, right?
Some kind of wonderful Lawton,
All right,
Oklahoma.
it is. We might need to send them a I Love Lawton for a seal pin, make sure he's wearing that at the induction. Colonel P.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to say, first of all, again, how much we appreciate the continued support by Lawton and the government, the city government, working with us through our multiple planning sessions, and then the invitation to kind of help support the numerous planning sessions that the city is going through as well, and continuing with that great relationship. And then the second part is we're looking to kind of kick off the summer concerts as we've done in the past. This year, taking a little different turn on it. We're going to have a 2-night concert on the 5th and the 6th of May in the Polo Field. That'll be as we're trying to work towards some no and low cost events, that'll be a free one for those to attend on the 5th and the 6th. And then we'll have a larger headliner sometime probably in the beginning of August before school gets back in session with a great country singer. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Colonel. Appreciate that. And now we'll move on to audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward at this time. David Tyler.
David Tyler, 501 Southwest 77th. I'm in a good mood. My grandkids are back from China, so I want to address something that was in the paper today. It said that the buses may go from 8 to 10, possibly. I know we were told at the meeting Monday before the last council meeting last week that they're actually cutting back to 8 buses. So if we expand to 10 buses or electric buses, the council was told last week, those buses will be 5 to 10 feet longer than the current buses. That would mean if they park currently the way they are right now, side by side and bumper to bumper, that's 250 feet. And 4th and 8th that will allow over 100 feet extra if you go north to south. I just wanted to point that out before some misinformation gets out. I would also like to address the trash issue. August 2021, I stood before the council. I was a little upset because a friend of mine was hoarding his trash because he was afraid he was going to be fined for it. Well, I said then that I felt that we had our services cut in half, and that any citizen that requested an extra garbage can should be allowed to have one without a fee. Anything over that, yes, they should pay a fee. And I said then that it would increase the bulk trash pickup because people will hoard what they could have put in a trash can, and it'll make us look like New Delhi. I've had people ask me what I thought we should do. Well, to facilitate the picking up of bulk trash, I thought it was always good if a citizen could call and say, I've got bulk trash. Because some of them do set it out the night before. And if city is checking to see who has bulk set out, they may not know it's there, and then you have somebody complaining because it's sitting out for 2 weeks. If you could implement it to voluntarily, that the citizens could call the city, say, I'm setting bulk out, it may help those that are checking to see where bulk actually is. And it might help control the bulk problem we've got. That's all I had to say. I told you I'm in a good mood.
Okay, thank you, David. And Aquarian Yarborough. Did I say that right?
Aquarian.
Aquarian. And by the way, I'll pass down his address.
Okay. So I wrote this out here. So I'm just going to kind of read through this. This is my Women's History Month speech. There's a woman that's a superhero to me that I feel like we need to acknowledge her. So I made sure I timed it. It's not personal, it's business. I've been told that my entire life when being on the losing end. I feel like no matter how many times I prove I am what I say I am to the opposition, the goalpost is moved. Months ago, there was a meeting about race relations. If I'm not mistaken, the city attorney now, acting city manager, instructed the citizens in the committee to file a report, and if they felt unsafe. After his advice, I took his advice, and I took my 12-year-old daughter to Cameron University for a STEM camp when we were witnesses to Miss Martina Davis being bullied and harassed by Councilwoman Johnson and other parties. We observed Ms. Matina handle the situation
Okay,
professionally.
hold on, just a minute.
This situation
That
is
is
near and dear to
against-
my
excuse
heart
me,
because
just a
I
minute.
instructed and encouraged and filed a police
Excuse me,
report.
just a minute.
I'm
It
saying
is
nothing
against the
wrong.
rules.
I'm not saying anything wrong. I've attacked no one. I am stating facts. I'm not saying anything wrong. Can I have my 3 minutes, yes or no?
You are
Can I
not
have
to
my 3
degrade.
minutes, yes or no?
You are not to degrade and make
I'm not
accusations.
degrading anyone. I am reading off of a sheet and these are facts. If I can't speak, just tell me I can't. It's okay. Tell me I can't do my 3
Okay,
minutes.
I'm going to tell you now, cease and
I don't mind.
desist attacking. You can continue your
So are you
speech,
saying
but
that
you
I
are not
can't-
to
no,
make
you can't tell me
accusations.
what I can say. So now I'm asking you, Mayor Booker, can I have my 3 minutes, yes or no?
You can have your 3 minutes within the rules, which include...
I am within the rules. I have
Are
not
you going to let me
insulted or
finish the
attacked
sentence?
anybody. You're saying I'm insulting and attacking, and I'm not, and I want to be clear.
Your
Can
3
I have my
minutes
3
is-
minutes?
You are making accusations.
I'm not making accusations. I'm speaking on what I observed.
You've got about a minute and 20 seconds.
Okay, let me finish. Thank you. We witnessed her, so we observed Ms. Matina handle the situation professionally. This situation is near and dear to my heart because I instructed and encouraged her to file a police report and reach out to the city attorney. After trusting his words, she filed the report that Friday. Then she received a response on Sunday evening implying she was under investigation, therefore he couldn't meet her. I observed the city attorney's wife, Dr. Radcliffe, follow and antagonize Matina on social media with false truths. Even after she removed her from one page, she continued the same behavior, then had to be removed from 2 other pages. Following the antagonization, she proceeded to tell local colleagues Matina called the police on the city attorney related to drunk driving and smearing feces on their car. These are not truths. This is defamation to a Black American veteran woman beating cancer. It's being spread by a leader. Dr. Radcliffe, who is on well above 5 committees in the community, one question. Matina has given us all factual evidence. Kelly Harris, when I met you, I met you at an Ambucks meeting. You donated land to my cause, but you never returned my call. I noticed at the Elmer Thomas meeting, you knew my name, you were okay with spending $6 to $9 million. Based off of visiting Elmer Thomas Park a few days ago, it was full of citizens, no security, happy families walking, biking, playing, feeding ducks, but also the bathrooms and the play area were out of service. Speaking of unserviced things, the King Center, also the AC needs servicing. We are too busy catering to the rich and saying we are of God when we should be servicing the less fortunate. Churches, God sent me to tell you he didn't send us here to sell the gospel. God is not in those 4 walls. When you're outside and you minister, you help others you haven't helped before. Look at where we are today. It's time to admit what's wrong and we need to find a new way with accountability, honesty, trust, respect, love, and God. Mayor, last but not least, you shook my hand the other day, but you failed to acknowledge the reason for calling security on me at the race relations meeting, and you went and got security and another gentleman. We all seem to hold everyone, including the teenagers, for their issues here in Lawton, when the problem is clearly leadership making money but not passing it on to the citizens. If this doesn't change, when Matina proves innocent in April, we will collect those 75 signatures, and everyone involved will be held accountable. Prophet Williams was a child, he was a baby. We failed him and the other kids in these streets. You all took away their fun, but because you all sold us out for money. Long live
Okay,
Quadrians,
sir, we've
Ontarians.
gone for 4
Thank you.
minutes. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward on items that are not on the agenda? Yes, sir, please state your name and address.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Justin Stevens. I live at 4016 Southwest Sunflower Lane. I believe that's your ward, Councilwoman Johnson. Okay, there's a few things I want to bring up, one of which that affects people outside of my demographic as far as like skateboarders goes. So my neighborhood is Rolling Hills, and it is south of Lee Boulevard on 38th Street, and there's no sidewalks there. I know that we have been adding sidewalks to, I believe, 53rd between Gore and Cash. I would like you guys to kind of consider adding sidewalks to Southwest 38th Street, south of Lee Boulevard, because I see a number of people every day, especially in the summertime when kids are out from school, and they are walking either in the street, and there's no shoulders, so if they're not in the street, they are walking in bar ditches on either side of the road. I've already had 2 friends of mine be hit by cars, none of which were recent, but it has happened before and it's liable to happen again. This road is much more dangerous at night for passerby when there are no street lights as well. So I would like you guys to consider adding lighting and sidewalks to the area. Another thing that I've noticed in that area is that the Louise D. McMahon skate park is there. Between the skate park and the roller rink, there's a bathroom. Now, I'm sure most of you already know what has been going on there as far as vandalism, destruction of property goes. But I would like to ask that you please consider reopening those bathrooms. Myself, other skateboarders, families who bring their kids up there to enjoy the day at the park, who want to try to get into skateboarding or BMXing or scootering, you know, we have to stop them from time to time. We have to say, ma'am, these bathrooms aren't open, I'm sorry. You'll have to go down to Taco Bell or the Walmart. And that discourages them from coming back because they need that facility to utilize much as well as we do, especially during the summertime. In addition to the bathrooms not being open there was a water fountain there. I can't remember when it was taken out, but it was taken out at least maybe a year or two ago. Since then, it has not been replaced. I have observed Greer Park, which is about a mile away from there, between 38th and Gore, where the kids zone is. You know, not only are the bathrooms open, someone comes up there, they unlock the bathrooms in the mornings, they come and lock them in the evenings. There's a water fountain there. There's a water bottle filler there. I would like to ask that you consider you give us the same at the Louise D. McMahon Skate Park.
Okay, and thank you for coming, and we can't talk back and forth, but I think somebody from the staff can answer your questions about sidewalks and potentially the restroom, and I don't see Dwayne. Is he here? Okay, I think Dwayne can answer your question. Is there anybody else that would like to come and speak on this, any item that's not on the agenda? How you doing? Oh, I'm some kind of wonderful, thank you.
Hello, I'm Reginald Brown, 6507 Northwest Maple Avenue and 6113 Northwest Elm. I'm coming to let everyone know about the Financial Empowerment course that will be happening starting March 18th, Saturday. It's 12 weeks. It's free. It'll run through June 3rd, Saturday. Again, 9 to 11. It's free and open to all Lawton residents. The course will repeat every 12 weeks until all Lawton residents are financially empowered or reinforced with information that they already have. I'm also encouraging other organizations to go through the course and to take it back to their communities. This is the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau information, so it's free to download from their website. And I think most organizations are already using some type of financial literacy training. This is just another tool to reinforce that. Folks can sign up at the Bethlehem Baptist Church Facebook page. There's an event on there that shows it. You can sign up for the March through June class, or the June to September class, or the September to December class. And if it goes well, I'll continue it next year. But if everyone's totally empowered and financially literate by December, then I'll stop. There's also a survey on there to do also. Big thing about this is that, again, I'm going to be there every Saturday to help folks with their information, and also that it's downloadable, and any organization can use this information with their normal operations with their patrons. Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation to discuss anything that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on with the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda prior to action and considered separately. Now, I do have two items that we have struck from the agenda, but they're not on there, but you might make a note. 16 and 19 will not be discussed tonight. Are there any items on the consent agenda that the council wishes to pull for consideration? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. And that brings us up to item 12, unfinished business. Consider adopting resolutions authorizing the installation and/or removal of traffic control measures at Northwest 35th Street and Arlington Avenue and Northwest 47th Street and Meadowbrook Avenue. Ms. Chapman? No?
Mayor, Council, I asked for this to be tabled until I could be here. I understand from the Traffic Commission rules and statutes that they do not like to use stop signs as a way of slowing down traffic. But in my 3+ years here, Meadowbrook and Northwest 35th Street, I have had the most constant complaints of speeders. Meadowbrook, from 40th Street west to 53rd, there is nothing to stop that traffic from just literally, I've had cars pass me. I live off of Meadowbrook, so I know about that area. A few weeks ago, we had a policeman, and I noticed that he was doing traffic control there, which I appreciated. Stopped by, introduced myself, and thanked him for being there, and he sort of had this little chuckle, and he said, "You're the third person who stopped by to say thank you." And I said, because this is something very, very important. If we could have at 47th and Meadowbrook a 3-way stop, then I could utilize a speed table from 47th to 53rd. On 35th Street, that is the street on the west side of Memorial Hospital, from Gore to Ferris, there is nothing to stop that traffic. And there's a lot of traffic around the hospital with employees and people utilizing that area. If I could have a 4-way stop at Arlington and 35th, and then utilize a speed table to the north between Arlington and Ferris, that would really help these people driving way past 25 miles an hour through these 2 particular areas. So that's what I'm asking for, some help here. And as we grow as a city and work on streets and people find these cut-throughs all through town, we have got to be aware of helping our citizens in our neighborhoods to feel like they're safe. I don't have sidewalks in my area, so people are walking in the streets or on the curb, and these cars are flashing by. In the summertime, when I can walk again, I mean, literally, I have just put my hand out and yelled, "Slow down" to these cars. So if we could get some help here, I sure would appreciate it.
Are you wanting to make a motion in that regard?
I would love to make a motion.
And do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. And the motion carries 8-0. Moving us to business item number 13, receive a presentation from C.H. Guernsey on the study report of the architectural ceiling system, lighting, and HVA systems of the Lawton Public Library, and take action as necessary. Kristen.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to take a moment and tell you that a year ago, the Friends of the Library went to the McMahon Foundation and requested funding for a ceiling study. And we have worked with am I close enough? Am I not close enough? I am a little tough on it. We've worked with EST, who has worked with Guernsey, and they have a report for us today, and we're very excited to present this report.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm David Owen with Guernsey, and I apologize. Let's see how to operate this thing. No, I need to. Not sure how to advance the slide on it. Whoops. Uh-oh, that wasn't good. I'm not sure how to advance the slide on this. Okay, thank you. So just a little bit on the project. There we go. A little bit on the project that I thought was really interesting when I was pulling together some of the information. Sorry, it jumped slides. There we go. The history on the facility is actually, it turned 50 years old in February of this year. So I thought that was very interesting how the city's really been able to take a good use of the facility and giving back to the community and helping the community. Also, it was organized by the women of the Federal Club in 1904. So I thought that was very interesting too, based on what was shared just a few minutes ago. Scope of work that we looked at really comprised of 4 items. It was the study of the ceilings themselves. They are original to the building. The lighting within the building, a lot of it is original. The 3x3 fixtures, they're fluorescent. They are showing a lot of age and a lot of challenges for long-term maintenance. We also looked at the mechanical systems, not so much for replacing the systems because they are still functional, but it was more about how to integrate them into the new ceilings. And then also the fire suppression system, because as of right now, the building predominantly is protected by smoke detection throughout. I think Kristen shared with me that there's a little over 200 smoke detectors throughout that building. And so some of the things that we wanted to review in looking at the ceilings is just how can we bring in, sorry, this thing's jumping. We wanted to look at some of the existing conditions and some of the challenges that she has with the lighting and with just how to make the space a lot more user-friendly for the patrons when they come in to use it. And so we went through a series of studies with Kristen and her staff and reviewed several ceiling plan options. One of the ones that the staff seemed to be most interested in is really breaking the ceiling up into several clouds throughout so that way there was not a uniform flat ceiling, but it provided a variety of levels and changes to the ceiling. We also introduced color in different areas for wayfinding, so that will help when folks are there using the facilities. Sometimes when the floor plan arrangement gets adjusted, it helps with wayfinding to have pops of color throughout the space. Which way is this going? And so really, to kind of conclude, the study, what we did is we looked at how can we phase it in multiple phases so that it does not impact the use of the library. It allows it to stay operational while changes are occurring and updates are being made. And through those 4 phases, we can achieve all of the goals and the desires of the library. And with that, we did put together an estimate. I think you all can see it in front of you. We did go through each of the line items. We were able to work through that with some interaction from a general contractor due to just the challenges in the construction market. And so that way we felt like this was a reasonable representation of what cost would be in order to do those updates for ceilings, lights, fire suppression throughout the building, and then updating mechanical as needed for the new ceiling layout. So that's kind of just an overarching summary, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So my questions aren't really to you, but I have some for Kristen. Kristen, I noticed that this has the funding source as the Propel CIP, and I don't remember this in Propel.
When we, there is a section in Propel 19 for the library. I don't believe all of the funding is available. I know that was a conversation as far as the agenda item, and I believe the recommendation on there was to send it to the committee to discuss that. But you're right, there is not a pot of money earmarked for this project at this time.
Okay, so
Or
my memory.
a complete amount of money.
My memory was the 15 or 16 CIP that was rolled in for Propel had a component in it for the library, and that construction has been completed. For this one, we would be required to change the CIP, which I can't speak for the council, but I don't, I think the council doesn't want to change the CIP. Certainly I don't. There is some extra money in the CIP, but it's inflationary funds, and it has to go to all the other projects that the citizens were promised. I will tell you this. I do believe there are several projects in the city, and we need to put those together to bring an extension to the citizens and see if they will approve it. So my recommendation would be, council, that we need to start thinking, and that's probably on me. I'll get that rolling about bringing a CIP extension, and this certainly could be added if the council so chooses at that time. But I don't believe we should be changing the CIP, and what appears to be extra money is really inflationary money that needs to be spread out into the projects that were promised the citizens. So are there any other questions or comments?
Kristen, were you planning on doing this in phases or all at once? Or does it have to be all or nothing?
Well, while it would be lovely to be able to do it in a couple of phases so that, and when you use the word phases, to do a project, do one half of the building and then do the other half of the building, we'd really like to keep operating, even if we have to have a temporary entrance and that sort of thing. But it's practical to bid it as one project and then have the construction company work on one half of the building and then transfer over. And we're hoping we can put some drop clouds down, and like we did with the restrooms, we kept operating it. Just we did some temporary measures so we could stay in the building.
Thank you.
I would probably suggest, I don't know where the council is going to go on this, but I would suggest you put together a 10-year plan and be ready for anything else that might come up in 10 years, separated where the council can take a look at that when they're putting together the CIP. Council, do you wish any action on this or further discussion? Mr. Warren.
I just would comment and kind of echo what the mayor said. I think we have to be very, very cautious. We have, the Propel CIP is the real first effort for us to provide a CIP plan to the citizens that we can check off and say, we've done all these 10 things or whatever they are, and then go back to the citizens and say, we've done what we said we would do, and now we'd like to do some more. And I think we really have to be careful and not add or subtract until we can say we accomplished that.
Yeah, and I like the projects you have scheduled, and I want to say you've done a wonderful job over there with all the things that you've added. So I think that Councilman Warren is right in that we need to do the things that we said we were going to do, and the mayor said this too, do the things we said we were going to do first, but we do need to plan for this. And I think when Oklahoma City did the MAPS program, MAPS 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the libraries were a part of one of those, and they did a wonderful job. So good, nice work here, both of you. Thank you very much, and it's something for us to think about.
I don't see any action, so thank you for coming. Number 14, consider approving a request to vary the screening requirements for 1130 Southwest Lee Boulevard, 1350 Southwest 13th Street, and direct staff as necessary. Cameron.
Get it up here where I'm a little bit taller. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Cameron Good with the Planning Department. A change of use was applied for at this address for the rear end of the building. That's where you have the slash because it's one building, and you have the 1350 address. It's a change of use which kicked in a screening requirement for the south property because there is residential to the south. They submitted a letter requesting not to do that screening requirement. Code does not state a person to waive this screening requirement, and that's why there is also the direct staff as necessary. This did go to CPC, the City Planning Commission, and they did recommend to approve this waiving of the screening requirement.
Council questions?
Cameron, what was the screening that would have been required?
The screening requirement is a 6 to 8 foot OPEG screening, so you can't see through it along the whole south side of the property line that is adjacent to that residential area. This screening requirement has been in place since the building was built, and this new change of use is what kicked in updating that.
Mr. Warren.
Well, I'm trying to understand the theory behind putting a screening requirement in and then doing away with it. The whole idea was to protect the residential area. Has the residential area changed at all, or?
No, sir. Okay. The screening requirement, the reason they're asking, they believe that there is some hardship, that this would create a small space in between their building where they do have exits from their building. And so that's provided in the letter that we attached. They did list off some hardships that they believe this fence would put on them.
Okay, so I'm sorry, were you through, Mr. Warren?
Yeah.
Oh, Ms. Johnson, go ahead.
Yes. So, Council, Mayor and Council, just so that you know, the area where the screening is requested, it's a very small area. There's I don't know, is that an electric box or something that's right there? And where they're going to be, the change of use is on the other side. So it's really not going to block anything. It's inside the building. And if there is something put up there, there are a lot of displaced people that are already in that area, and that could cause another space for them to be that will be unsafe. There's literally not a lot of space to put screening up.
Yeah, the site plan that's shown on this, from the 1980s when this building was built, does show a 6 to 8 foot OPEG screening on the site plan that was never constructed. But the building is supposed to be 5 feet from the property line. It was constructed 3 feet from the property line. So you're talking, this fence would give a space of 3 feet in between the building if it was built actually on the property line where it's required.
Mr. Mayor, didn't the variance committee approve this to do away with this requirement?
I'm sorry.
Did not the variance committee approve to do away with this requirement?
There was no variance approved. The City Planning Commission, yes, sir, did recommend approving this. Yeah.
Right.
I just want to clarify. The requirements are that it's there. It didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So your department took it to the CPC, and sometimes things don't make sense, do they?
Yes, sir.
And that's one of these times.
Doesn't give a direct path for this to be waived by anybody.
And the recommended action not only includes approving this, but includes to draft a code change to Chapter 18 for council consideration, adding similar variance requests to the City Planning Commission, or to direct staff to develop that. So is there any further discussion or a motion? Yes, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, Cameron, I was reading through the code here, and that variance is also, there's a lot of stuff that's covering landscaping, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So along with the screening requirement of the fence is also required a tree buffer, a certain amount of landscaping points along that side of the property.
Okay, so some of the, I understand, and in this situation, I think that, I think I agree with everybody, but I'm wanting to clarify that some of this is for beautification. So in some instances, maybe not this one, a fence would be needed to maybe add in the distraction and for beautification. I mean, that's within this code that we're looking at.
The purpose of the screening is to protect the residential area, to give it a buffer in between a residential and a commercial area. That's what the intent of the code is. That's why there's a landscaping code, is also to, gives it a little bit of a sound buffer as well.
Right, right. But fencing, of course, is going to cover up blemishes also. And in some instances, it's going to be less cost effective, because if there's a fence that's sort of covering, they won't have to do as much painting on their building or whatnot. But this is part of that code that I noticed that LEDA is mentioned within this code. So this is partially can be looked at as somewhat of a beautification thing in some instances, as well as a buffer between the residential and commercial.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion or debate? Please vote. I need one more. Motion carries 8-0. Moving us to item 15. Consider approving a request to vary the screening requirement for 30 Northwest Sheridan Road and direct staff as necessary. Cameron.
Alrighty, very similar situation here. This one was applied for through license and permits to actually reconstruct this fence. It's currently a chain link with the plastic slats in it. There's some slats missing, as you can see in some of the pictures provided to you. That being said, he wants to come in and replace this fence, which requires the OPEG screening because it's in between a commercial and that residential area. There is some hardship in here where he states that he can't go back with that OPEG screening because of the spacing of the poles. He has to go back in the existing holes due to the gas line that's there. And he also wants to go in with a wrought iron fence, which would be more expensive than going back with a wood fence or a metal panel fence. So he actually wants to beautify the area and go back with a nice wrought iron fence. Mr. Rogers is here to answer any questions. He also has a example piece of the wrought iron fence if you guys would like to see. But this would require you to waive that screening requirement again, because the wrought iron fence would not be opaque.
Chad, do you want to speak? Do you want to come down and speak?
Our property was built in the, I guess, 5 or 6 years before I was born. And so when it was built, we meet the code for as it was constructed. The chain link met the current code. It is just 60 years old. And so what we're proposing is to beautify the area, but we have to have security, and we have to have something that you can see through. Right now, you can see through the fence to the cubbyhole areas that were tent cities whenever we took this property over 3 years ago and have cleared them all out. And this would, the opaque fence in the corner would just create a security disaster for us, as well as a graffiti billboard. We've gone in and gone to great lengths to get all the graffiti off the back of the building. We've repainted, and we want to thank the planning department as well for all their assistance in this. Our councilwoman Chapman, she spent an hour and a half riding around looking at all the different aspects of it. But in our property, the neighborhood has changed. We've been, as a security measure, we've been buying up these duplexes that the council has condemned, and we've been tearing them down. Our hope is that we can one day make this strip around the shopping center be a commercial area too. In fact, we're currently working, we're just waiting on a site plan to present to you to start on the first 4 lots and begin this project. We own 8 of them. There's a church that owns about a dozen of them. So we're down to about 6 or 7 duplexes in this area. They were built as federal housing projects back in the day. In fact, I went to grade school in that neighborhood, and I remember them well. The reason we can't do a tree buffer and some of the things that meet the code requirements for today is that our parking lot stripes, we nearly had to stripe the roof to get the parking lot stripes enough to meet the building code. So when they built this property, it was Montgomery Ward's and Hobby Lobby and the likes. It's striped up against the fence. Now, we've got it striped against the fence. We have to stripe against the building, and that leaves us the exact amount of room for the driveway in between. If I scoot the fence over off of the gas line and the easements, if I scoot it back over onto my property to create room for the screening, then I don't have room for that whole row of parking, and we're talking about 1,500 feet. So the parking, even though we don't use that parking, it still is necessary to fit the size of the building. So anyway, we have come in, this is not something that we're being forced to do. We've come in voluntarily and want to enhance the outlook of it. So we're hopeful that you agree to allow us to do that. If not, we would just leave it like it is, and it just stays chain link.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Rogers?
Mayor, we're passing around an image that shows the opaque screening, so I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question.
Yes.
You're wanting to put a wrought iron?
Yeah, I have a sample of it back there next to the security guard leaning against the wall.
You're wanting to go with the wrought iron basically where it picks up there just off of Gore a little to the north and then all the way down the property line?
All the way down the property line, then it would turn back toward the east.
Right, on the far
And on the east, we have the building and the fire lane, and there's no more room there. So we're constricted to going back where we're at and be able to still serve the emergency necessities and the codes.
Is it 4 foot or 5 fence or?
6.
6 foot.
Yeah, it's a 6-foot chain link right now. We would go back with 6-foot wrought iron. We would raise it up as high as we can and still meet where you can't get your head stuck under it. And so that's going to make it a little bit over that, but.
That's known as the can't get your head stuck under it code.
There you go.
So,
Mayor,
yes.
I have really appreciated Mr. Rogers and what their concept for the future for this property is. We're wanting to beautify this city, and a wrought iron fence is a pretty nice way to go, for sure. So I really appreciate all of your efforts you and your son have put toward this property.
Thank you.
And its future also.
And was that a motion
Oh,
to
absolutely.
accept?
And I wanna
It's
second
a motion
that.
to
I
accept.
wanna
Do we have a
second-
second?
second, Mayor, and I would like
We
to
have a
make a-
motion and a second, discussion or debate.
I'd like to
Mr.
make a
Hampton.
comment. I appreciate your efforts using your resources to be an example for others, businesses in town, to beautify an area that needs that. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate it, and I'm sure most of the council does too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been our pleasure. The planning department has really been, I've worked in cities in a 5-state area all my career doing this, and I'll tell you, this planning department is as strong as they get. They've really worked with us on 5 or 6 different things, and if you'll notice our corner, we're 100% full now and looking to expand. So hopefully that will be a continued trend.
All right, thank you. Are we ready to vote?
Mayor,
Please vote.
Mayor,
Yes.
are you going to include changing the code as part of the motion, or was that not
Well,
going to be
that,
included?
the motion is for approval of the recommended action.
Okay, so that includes?
Yes.
Okay.
Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Number 16 has been struck. Number 17, discuss the City of Lawton's fees compared to other cities' fees and give direction to staff as appropriate. Mr. Gill.
I initiated this from the standpoint that there's such a variance in different fees for different things, restaurants, clubs, professional licenses, and other things. And I think it was about time probably for a review to see what our license fees are for all these different things. So I had put this down so that we could compare 6 other major cities in the state of Oklahoma and see how we compare there, see if we're aggressive, keeping up with the times. We want a well-balanced city, but we want to be fair in the prices that we're charging, not to run other people away, but always to attract new businesses. So that was my reason behind this. There just seems to be a big discrepancy in our fee charges.
So you're making a motion?
I make a motion that we direct staff to look into this and prepare some sort of a chart that will show these different fees charged for these different items that they charge for.
Include the 6 peer cities that we've been comparing.
6 cities, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that, Mayor.
And we have a second motion and a second. Is there discussion or debate? Please vote. One more. And the motion carries 8-0. Item number 18, discuss the possibility of hiring an experienced team building consultant from Strategic Governance Resource to help improve the governance of our city and ensure that we are serving our community to the best of our ability. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I had this agenda because for some time now I've been concerned that as a council, we're not able to communicate, we can't get together, we've had no team building whatsoever, and that I think it's important because we're in an important time of our history, a lot of big projects coming up, and we need to find a way that we can improve our communication between us, and with that being said, problem solving and looking to identify, and I know we just started approved the new committee for strategic planning, so that once we get those ideas, we can then find a way, and it would be a public workshop, but to address those issues, and also, as you said, the next CIP, and at the same time, build a little more teamwork amongst ourselves and with the staff of the city.
Are you making a motion for approval?
I will make that motion for approval.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion for approval and a second.
Mayor, stand by. Hold on just one moment. Mayor, there's no action language associated with this agenda item. It's just a discussion item.
So,
Okay, good catch. This is not an action item, so it's a discussion item. So is there discussion? Did you want to discuss?
no, I just.
Mayor.
Mr. Warren?
I was just going to say, since we're just going to discuss it, we might want to wait until we have the entire team on board before we decide to do anything like that. So I would think we'd want to wait until after we hire a city manager to even go any further, but that's just my thought.
I concur with Randy.
Mayor, Council, where would the funding come to pay for this? Is my question.
I suspect out of the same pot that we found $15,000 to pay Kyle Killingsworth with.
Other discussion?
Mayor. I feel like everybody up here is my colleagues, and we're severely limited by the Open Meetings Act. And I think that probably contributes to any kind of angst, perhaps, that anybody might have. But I know I can reach out to any of you individually, just from the time I've been here, and we can discuss things. So I guess I don't really see what the problem is we're trying to solve.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Been through a lot of team building, and I'm too old to do a ropes course. And so I just, we talk to each other, we talk straight to each other, we talk nice to each other. We don't agree on everything, and that's good. So I think we're doing a pretty good job of being a team in a team. Like if you're in an organization, you really have to have different personalities fulfill different parts of the things that need to get accomplished. But we're kind of different than an organization. So, but I'd be very careful about team building for me.
Mr. Harris. I would concur with Marianne and Sean on those points, yet I still feel that we're like 9 people rowing in 9 different directions, and we're not always getting things accomplished in the smoothest manner possible, in my opinion.
Other discussion?
I just wanted to add that I agree with Marianne is saying, but I think from, just my experience that, I've been through 2 different sets of colleagues, and this one, what we have now, I think is running pretty smoothly. We're not going to agree on everything, which we shouldn't, because we're, representing different people, different areas and things like that. If there's something specific, that may be in the strategic plan, maybe that's probably something that whoever put this on here is getting towards a strategic plan and maybe, an overall goal for the city, et cetera. That's where that will come in. But in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, that we're doing fine.
Mr. Hampton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I think that I agree with Councilman Feuerbach that indeed it is frustrating for me sometimes that I can't get together with everybody. But it is no doubt that in my mind, I was reading this agenda item, and in my mind, I was thinking how we would go about doing that because all of our meetings have to be public. I was recalling an investigation that was done in Duncan on a couple of council members that were together, and they were accused of speaking about business, city business. And I think that's the key with the Open Meetings Act. We're not supposed to discuss business with each other, especially if there's a quorum. And I think that probably doing, if all of us are at a meeting together doing team building, I'm not really sure in my mind how that's going to work out. And also, I watched these city council meetings in the old days, and things were rather violent at times, to say the least. And I've heard stories. I guess maybe some people that were here before know what that is. But I'm feeling pretty amicable with everybody and supportive. And I'd like to just publicly say that I kind of consider everybody up here like a family to me, and that's all, Mayor.
Mayor, Council, just one comment here. There's a document called a Notice of Suspected Quorum that we would file in the event that we did something like this. So there wouldn't be anything on the agenda. We would give the public time and notice, opportunity to show up if they wanted to, but that's how we would comply with the Open Meetings Act.
Other discussion? Mr. Harris.
Maybe it's just because I'm the new guy on the block, but I don't feel that sense of oneness. And Councilman Hampton, if you'd like to step outside, we can take up Jim Branscombe and Bob Shanklin's old habits. But I agree that this council has come a long ways, and I just still feel like there's something that I'm leaving on the table and not getting through. So I will abandon these efforts and go on my own way.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. We move on. 19 was struck. Item number 20, discuss and consider whether to seek the help of an outside firm in finding a new city manager. Take action as council deems appropriate. And John.
Mayor, council, this is just to get your guidance on how broad of a net that we want to cast in terms of looking, identifying, and interviewing city manager applicants. As the acting city manager, I can approve up to $50,000 in terms of hiring an outside firm to assist us with this process. But before I did that, I just wanted to get some council guidance on how all of you envision this process playing out.
Mr. Warren, you got any input here?
I wasn't I thought we had to work really hard last time, even paying somebody. That's not to say that we didn't get good candidates. That's just, I think we could have got the same thing if we'd have put just a normal outreach into, I don't think we gained anything by hiring somebody. I guess that's by hiring a firm to help us. I think we could have done that ourselves. Now, how to disseminate that job availability, I don't know. I guess that's part of what you pay for when you pay that company. But the last couple times we've used one, I really felt like we could have probably done it ourselves.
Well, Council, I would just add, we did post it on our internal website. It was posted the day after, and we've already received a few applications.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Does our HR department have assessments like the DISC assessment or anything like that when we're hiring upper management?
Craig is coming up to weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you from the past, when we went out for firms, that it does take a lot of work to do this, especially for the city manager position. They take all the responsibility to go out and get the applicants, to do the initial consideration of the applicants and the candidates. Then they supply to you 10, 12 names that they think would fit this, and then y'all look at that, narrow it down. They do the interviews, the initial interviews, send those to us, and then y'all look at those and narrow it down to who you want to come locally to interview with y'all personally. If we can do it, we like John said, we've got it already posted on ours. We can post it on Indeed. We can post it on whatever we need to post it on. We've got a budget for it. The only issue with it is being that it's the city manager's position, it will be up to somebody, whomever y'all designate, to vet all those applications that may come in. I'm not going to say we're going to get 100 of them, but somebody to vet those applications, look at the qualifications, see if they meet your qualifications for city manager, and then turn around and y'all do the interviews, do a lot more of the legwork than what a firm would do. Not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that when we've hired a firm in the past, for the past city manager position, for the city attorney's position, for the IT director's position, they make it nationwide. They can reach out a lot further than we can, a lot easier than we can, because they have the connections and they have people that have applied for other city manager like this one, other city manager positions that for some reason they may not have got hired there, but they think that they may be a good fit, so they can send an application information to them directly. You have other questions?
I have a question,
Exactly.
Mr. Mayor. Craig, have you heard, I know I used the term headhunter one day when I was talking to somebody that was looking for a job of that level. And the person acted like headhunters are just kind of a thing of the past. Have you heard of anything more progressive in the search for employee?
I call them search firms.
No, is that what
I
they?
know some people call them headhunters.
Okay.
I don't really like that term myself,
Yeah.
so I call them search firms.
Maybe that's why they changed the
They're,
name.
yeah, they're
Still the same.
professional firms that
Mhm.
actually go out, and that's what they do, is they search for candidates.
Okay, I thought
for
there just
positions.
might be something out there that's really great and, really internet or something that I've missed.
Used to, you had other people, I mean, people call Indeed and that kind of stuff, headhunters,
Mhm.
because that's kind of what they do. But this is more dedicated to what we want them to do.
Because even for an average level job, it's like 7,000 to 10,000.
So I want to get Ms. Johnson to clarify, because I thought her question was about doing some tests and whatnot, and I don't think I heard that. Did you hear an answer and I missed it?
No, you didn't miss it. So my initial question was, does HR have a mechanism like DISC or some type of overall assessment when hiring anyone that's in an upper management position like the city manager?
We don't know. But that is one thing from the search firms that we've used in the past. That is one thing that they do offer, that they can do the DISC. They can do those testings for us. We don't have anybody on staff that can administer a DISC that I'm aware of, or any of those type of tests.
Okay, so if we do choose to get an outside firm like we normally do, we can just get portions of what we need, maybe just the DISC assessment, maybe the search, or is it the whole complete package? They do everything, drill it down, and we get what's left.
There are different levels that we can get. You can get the whole package, or you can get pieces of it that we can get.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, that was actually the question, the last part that Councilman Johnson said, that was actually what I was wondering. There certainly are many, many different companies that probably offer this service, and when they offer those packages, are there companies that offer a whole package that's broken down into sections that you can shop and take parts of, and thus some of it can be, like Councilman Warren was saying, in-house, and then other components the outside company would do for us.
Correct. The only thing that we would need to know is exactly what all y'all want done. So that way we can say, we can do that, or we need to get a firm to do that, because we're going to have to go out for bids for whatever we do. So we need to know exactly what is needed. And I think that's why John wanted this as a council item. That's the difficult part, going from a full featured firm down to just parts. We need to know exactly what you want done.
Ms. Johnson.
So would you be able to give us, the capacity of HR, what you all can do and what you would need help for, or something like that? Because in my hiring, we've done it through 100% through these companies. But what's the difference between what you all can do, what your capacity is, and what you would need assistance with? I think that might help us.
Mr. Mayor? Oh.
Do you have anything you want to weigh in here? You were here in the last city manager search.
If we hire a firm, I'd like us to hire a really good one. I was very dissatisfied. I'm not saying, we got a lot of applications last time from the headhunter, and he dumped them in a pile and said, here you go, pick one. Most of them were not even close to being qualified for the job, and it wasted our time. I guess that's the best way to put it. So I'd like to get a good one, be able to shop for the things that we want, like a DISC assessment. Yeah.
And Ms. Hankins, I think I stepped on you there.
No, I don't think so. I know that at one time we were offered a profile assessment and we turned it down, didn't think it was necessary. And I think most of the big companies do some kind of profile, and I do think that's really beneficial.
Mr. Harris.
Yes. Do we not get some assistance from OML or SCR or some of the other organizations that we're a member of?
We can post a job on OML. It's a small fee, but I mean, we've done it with other jobs. We can post it on there, and that gets it out to as far as OML can go.
John, what's your advice here?
I mean, I think that's a good point. We can ask for OML to post it. Craig brought up Indeed, and there's some other different search engines that we can use. I don't know that those reach the scope of necessarily all available applicants out there. So my recommendation would be to cast as broad of a net as possible. Just because I think that, as you know, Ms. Johnson and others have mentioned, there's a lot of really important characteristics that you want to look at, a lot of experience stuff that's important, and so I think that a firm can vet that and can shape that a little more easily than our HR department, and not saying anything against them, but it's just it's a volume information type thing.
Mayor? Yeah, I was just going to say that I wasn't here for the city manager, but I was here for the city attorney, and I had thought that if we had a little more control, then we could actually get some information about some of who the applicants are earlier to be able to personally vet them and go through them with a little more time than what we had for the city attorney.
And I can say on this, most of the time, the time frame's up to us. If we do hire a firm and they come back and they have 30 applicants and y'all want to look at all 30 applicants, they'll send you a packet on all 30 of them, and you can take as long as you need to look through those packets and decide, narrow it down to who you want to do, for them to do interviews for you. And I say them do interviews, that's just kind of one of the offers that they have. If y'all narrow it down to 12 people and say, these are the 12 that we like, and y'all want to do personal interviews, video interviews for all of them, you can do that. That's how we kind of do the package. It's really kind of dependent on how y'all want to do it. I can tell you it's the HR department, but when you're talking about a city manager, I don't really know that I have the expertise to look through applications of a city manager and say, here's who I recommend for y'all. I don't think I have that ability to do that.
Mr. Gill.
I'm thinking somewhat like Councilman Warren in the fact that we can look at this for a short period of time on our own and see what we do get, what comes in, and then if we're not happy, say in 3 months, give or take, plus or minus, then we can always reach out to a firm. And we can also, when we reach out to these firms, and I've done this on numerous occasions, we can instruct those firms exactly what we want and how it's what we're looking for as far as parameters, and have them more or less tailor it to us instead of giving us a whole stack of resumes and say, go through them, here's what's out there, see what you like. We can really customize this to our needs here. This is something they give, and it's the same price. They don't charge more for that.
No, sir, they don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we do have a situation here. If we don't do it ourselves, then we've got to decide exactly what we want. And I'm not sure we have enough information to decide what we want, but I'd like to get this decision made at the same time. Mr. Warren.
Just to make it even less difficult, I think time is of the essence. I think we need to do this as quickly as we possibly can, but I don't think we want to hurry, and if that makes any sense at all. And I think I would like to see us move forward. Of course, we've got it on the website, and use Indeed or whoever else that we can, get that in motion, see what we start getting, and maybe revisit this in 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
2 weeks, we have a meeting. What about a motion to continue pushing it ourselves and get RFPs for options?
That would work, and that way we're ready. If we don't see something early on, we can have the RFPs.
So
That's my
moved.
motion.
Okay, now is there a second? We have a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. We need two more vote. We need one more vote. Okay, motion carries 8-0. Moving us to item 21, discuss the purpose and duties of the Lawton Traffic Commission and direct staff as deemed necessary. Larry. Mr. Warren. See you, Colonel. Mr. Warren.
Mayor and Council, the Traffic Commission is established under Chapter 2 of the City Code. This item is just to discuss the continued need for the commission. Over the last year or so, we've just had difficulty in obtaining meeting quorums, and so it's caused delays on getting traffic items action on traffic requests. That and the fact that over the last 7 years, the engineering department has not had a traffic engineer. So in the interim, I've been performing those duties, preparing the Traffic Commission agendas for their consideration. But overall, it's been difficult in getting meeting quorums. And so that just adds one more step that if the commission weren't in place under the city code, then those items could be taken directly to the city council for their consideration.
Could they be taken to the CPC?
They could be.
Yeah, Larry, it obviously frustrating for the Traffic Commission not meeting. Was there a time historically where it was functioning, or has it always been this way since you've been around?
Typically, whenever we do have a full-time traffic engineer to coordinate with the Traffic Commission on a continual basis, there really hasn't been that problem historically. It's just been really over the last year or so.
Yeah, so we're out of a position is what you're saying. I just want to be clear.
Right. The engineering department has historically had a full-time traffic engineer. Over the last 25 years, say we've had 5 different full-time traffic engineers. We just have not had one in place over the last 7. And so those job duties have been performed by Public Works.
Yeah. Did we eliminate that position, or is it we just hadn't filled the position?
Correct. That position was taken out of the budget a few fiscal years back.
Do you think we still need that?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, a city of our size would definitely have a full-time traffic engineer. And looking at Federal Highway Administration guidelines, just for a signal system of our size, needs to have a full-time traffic engineer.
Who's on that traffic, or who did we used to have on that traffic commission? I understand it's solved now.
A long time ago, it was Rich.
Yeah, the membership has changed over time. There's 6 members. David Means is the chairperson. But yeah, it consists of 6 different members.
It normally calls that meeting, so he's not calling it because we don't have a traffic engineer?
They have a standard schedule once per month. It's the 3rd Thursday of each month is their standard meeting time.
Okay. But not a lot of pertinent information to go over. Is that the problem?
Really, it's been a combination of a difficulty in getting a quorum from the members of the meeting or the commission, and also just lack of staff. Yeah.
Okay. Who's handling those duties as far as the city's concerned as a traffic engineer? Yeah. I'm looking at him.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the Public Works Director.
So if we continue that, then we'll have you there to represent the side of the staff and
Correct.
what needs to be
Yes.
done. So that's something we could continue without any additional expense. That's what I'm trying to say. That's something we should continue. Has that been a benefit for you in the past? I mean, has this
Having
been
the
a
commission in
productive?
place?
Yeah, has it been a productive committee in
They
years past?
They have productive discussions, sure. I would say 99% of the time they will vote to approve the traffic engineer's recommendation. There's typically not controversial items. things that they review, they're based on engineering standards, so.
Okay. I guess I'm a little bit amiss as to what we're really talking about here. If engineering has been handling these problems, which are 99% falling underneath the umbrella of our city engineer anyway, are we jeopardizing or giving up some sort of a control that we need by having this traffic commission?
No, I wouldn't characterize it in that way.
Okay. And I know sometimes we have commissions and boards that really are just figure, but if it's something that is, restricting or hurting our production as far as the city through that vein, you might say, then it's something we need to look at to try to get reinstated, maybe appoint new board members that will make a quorum and go forth. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, I agree with Councilman Gill. It's very frustrating on these commissions when people say yes, or on the board say, yes, I will be a member, and then they don't show up. We can't do the work of the city. They can't do the work of the city. And it is very frustrating because we have had to table things and set them aside for a while. If people can't make a meeting after so many times, maybe they need to be asked, do you still want to be on this committee or this board? And replace them if necessary. That may sound a little harsh, but I know there's a lot of meetings that I have been told with my appointees say, hey, we didn't even have a quorum, and it's frustrating.
So do you have rules in there that if they don't make so many meetings, they go off?
We do not. Yeah, they have a separate set of bylaws, but there's no rule that addresses that.
Mayor, part of the issue with amending the bylaws is we can't get a quorum. So you can't amend the bylaws without the quorum.
No, but what we can do, and we're moving forward, I believe, on the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women and the Parks and Recreation Committee, and we did the strategic plan this way, and we're appointing a advisory committee that can serve as at-large alternates when people don't show up. If the general consensus is that we need this committee and it needs to stay in place, then maybe we ought to add some alternates so that we can finally get there, because it seems to be a problem. How often do you meet?
They have a regular scheduled meeting once per month.
Once a month?
Larry.
Ms. Hankins, I think you had your...
Do I override?
Okay.
So Larry, you are the commission or the committee, right? I mean, you go there and you're pretty much by yourself. You don't have anyone else there at these meetings. But you do lead the meeting?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I'll receive traffic requests, go out and do field reviews, compile the agenda, and present that to the commission.
And then telling people they'll get kicked off if they don't attend 3 or what, that doesn't work. I mean, I hate to keep saying something doesn't work, because we're not supposed to say that, but it doesn't always work. And then the decisions can't be made. So do you need, are you saying you need a staff member to lead that other than yourself? Someone under you to?
Well, not necessarily under me. The engineering department has typically in the past handled this.
Yeah. And also, if a committee or a commission feels powerless, they don't like that either. I mean, why would you go spend all your time giving your opinion and your expertise and nobody really cares?
Mr. Harris.
About 1 million years ago, I was the chairman of this committee, and I served it for, I think, 8 years. So historically, the purpose behind the committee was the same way as what we just looked at with the D&Ds. It takes the heat off the council. They look at the decisions. People come, just like any of our other committees, people come, they want a stoplight or a stop sign or something at 35th and Arlington, and they come to that committee, and the committee looks at Larry's recommendation, and then they listen to the person making the ask, and they say, okay, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense. Historically, it worked very well, but if you don't have the people there, and that's extremely frustrating for any of our committees, but in the past, they did work very well. They were able to back up the engineer, and by the time we get the stuff on the consent agenda, there's really not much usually to talk about. So they really weed out a lot of the stuff that we don't want to have to sit up here and spend 30 minutes on.
Did you have any councilmen on that committee?
No, there were no council. It was all, David Denham was on there, Barry Zersky was on there.
Okay, well,
Anyway.
commission members maybe we need to, it's been suggested by the acting city manager, Tim Wilson, that we send, that maybe a motion is that we send a letter. Actually, excuse me, attorney. We'll get it right here in a minute. Now I've lost my train of thought.
Send a letter.
Send a letter to the commission members asking them if they desire to serve. Another recommendation was put a council member on the committee, which I think is possible. We could change the code. I would like to ask this: how many items a year do you deal with on this committee?
Typically, when we're actively having meetings on a monthly basis, it's a half a dozen items per meeting would be a typical number.
All right, so it's too many for us to deal with.
Mr. Mayor, if we
Yes.
decide to put a council person on, I will volunteer.
Okay, so, Mr. Hampton. Are you volunteering or you want to?
They can volunteer. I'll talk. I just wanted some clarification from Larry. If need be, I'll volunteer, but obviously there's a line. Which is good for you, Larry, I guess. I guess there's some excitement up here about this, but I wanted just some clarification. So in your opinion, being here, as long as you have, you're saying that the traffic commission, it's good to have a traffic commission to help you discuss things with them without the extra hire that we took the position away, right? And that was the traffic,
Traffic engineer.
Say again?
Traffic engineer?
Yeah, the traffic engineer. So we're without the traffic engineer, and in this state that we're in, you still think it's still a good idea, obviously you're doing that work, to have a traffic commission to bounce that stuff off of, and it would expedite what you're doing. And I'm assuming you assign that work to them to take a look at that.
Yeah, really I don't. They don't necessarily save any time or perform any work. I will do all the field work and bring recommendations from my perspective to them for their consideration. And then they pass on a recommendation to the council for action.
And so let's say that all that mess that's going on over there at Lori Tatum, that traffic commissioner, instead of you, would be actually focusing directly on those kind of traffic problems, right?
Correct. That would be one type of issue that they would look at. But again, they wouldn't be actually performing any type of function to come up with solutions per se. They would be considering recommendations I would bring to them and then pass along those to council. It's really kind of an intermediate step between staff and council.
So if we had that other traffic engineer that you had, you would not be doing it, and it would be his sole responsibility to take care of all the
That's
traffic
correct.
stuff?
Sure.
Which might expedite the situation on some of this stuff. I'm sure your workload.
Yeah, absolutely. Traffic engineering just in itself takes tons of field time.
Most of this traffic stuff would be expedited if we did have that traffic engineer.
Sure.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Is there a motion? Mr. Warren?
I just wanted to say I'm not really interested in being on the commission. That makes it any easier for you.
Mr. Fortenbaugh.
Larry, is that traffic engineer position still on the books where we could fill it?
It's not. They don't have a designated traffic engineer per se. They have engineering positions open. They have a deputy director of engineering position open. But there's not a specific traffic engineer position any longer.
Could either one of those positions be repurposed?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's just been difficult over time to even have any type of civil engineer. We always have an opening for an engineer in the engineering department.
Mr. Harris?
Yeah, so one of the things that, at least we used to do, and again, it was 100 years ago, is that he would bring agenda the items, and all the commissioners would go out and look at the site and go, okay, and try to make, and then make that decision based on his information and what they thought was reasonable. So they actually do more, or at least they used to do more than just come once a month and listen. They actually went and looked at the sites.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, it's just a discussion.
No, it's discuss and direct staff to.
Mayor.
It says direct staff is deemed necessary. Who
Mayor?
said mayor?
I did.
Yes, Mr.
I got my
Foreman.
light on. I'll make a motion that we direct staff to look for ways that we can revitalize this commission and make it where it can meet with a quorum every time, whether through the use of alternates or perhaps asking existing members if they still want to be on that commission.
And bring that recommendation back at the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Discussion or debate?
Are we going to make any other appointments to that committee?
That wasn't the motion.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
That wasn't the motion.
Can I make a secondary motion? Or
You
friendly
can,
motion?
you can give a secondary motion if you think that's a solution.
I'd like
But
to
what
make-
we ask for is the staff to bring back recommendations.
Okay.
Perhaps that could be one of their recommendations. But I'm going to tell you, we have small committees. This is a small one, just 5, right?
There are 6.
So this is probably the smallest one we have. We may have one with 5.
I'm just trying.
And we have as much trouble with quorums and small ones as we do big ones. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Moving us to item number 22. Consider adopting an ordinance, including any floor amendments related thereto, pertaining to Chapter 6 amendments to International Property Maintenance Code 2015, Division 651503 of the Lawton City Code, to decrease the number of months that a property may be boarded before declaring it a dilapidated structure. John?
Yes, sir. So city code right now, 6-5-50-1-503. Dilapidated building is a structure which has been boarded and secured as defined for 18 consecutive months. What Neighborhood Services is proposing is we make a change for the number of months from 18 to 6 months to be in accordance with the Oklahoma State statute.
Do we have questions?
I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes.
I don't really have a problem in the time, in the time frame, but I have had some business people, both residential property and other businesses that at times have trouble renting their property. And during that time, they've had vandalism on that property. I went ahead and read the boarding up code. That code actually is cut the board exactly to the size of the window, screw it in there. I mean, it's real specific in it, and then paint it the same color as the building, which a lot of houses and businesses aren't doing that. They've got like full sheets of plywood up, and it looks terrible. I have drove through and looked at some of those houses that have been following the code, and they don't really even stand out. I mean, so I'm not, obviously we're not enforcing that part of the code right now because people are just putting big pieces of plywood, not painting it, not doing it the way that they're doing it. And did I miss any verbiage in this ordinance that really covers that? Because I can see the point of these people that are trying to rent their house, they can't rent it, and the windows are getting broke out, and they need to do something to protect that property because they're replacing the windows and replacing the windows. Has there been any consideration as we're looking at these ordinances, John, to see?
No, you're correct. And what this will help us do, this will help us better track properties that the people will purchase. They'll put, they'll board and secure it, but then they'll just leave the property to decay, and they won't do any
Of course, yeah.
renovations or anything like that to it. And that's when you'll start getting the property damage, like the building structure damage. And that's what it's going to help us, like I said, better track those properties.
Yeah, we were talking about variances earlier. I do understand that part. There are a lot of people that are doing that. And of course, I tear down more houses in my ward than probably anybody. So I agree with you. There are people that are being neglectful and not taking care of their property. But I don't know if you're understanding what I'm asking. There are people that are taking care of their property and their property is getting vandalized. And I don't know if there's anything that's written that covers them being able to, one of them said, well, maybe I would put the boarding on the inside, but that would still have the window broke out. And they were really looking for solutions. And these houses they're really following the code, and it's not an eyesore.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, there is nothing like that in the city code. So if I bring anything to you guys that's been boarded and secured, so like that. So if a person is like trying to protect their house and it's within the 6 months that they've had it boarded up for 6 months and they are taking care of it, even if I bring it to you, you guys still have the final say on if it's a dilapidated building or not.
Right,
in the
right.
D&D project.
Right. So in your department, is there kind of I mean, you guys, when you're inspectors, I think you guys do a great job, and I've called some of your inspectors on a lot of different things. But within your department, if there's a city owner that is taking care of their property, it's landscaped, it looks good, they're following the code for boarding up their property to protect it, then you guys probably give them a little leeway there.
So that's one thing that we kind of do look at to see if it's been maintained, if the house is actually falling apart, if there's any damages to the siding, roof is falling apart, just the stuff that I bring to you guys every month. So we do look at everything, saying, well, this house is, it's boarded up, it's a really nice house, upkept property, they're taking care of it.
Yeah. To your credit,
So, yes, sir.
to your credit, out of all the houses that I've put on the D&D list, none of them have fallen in what I'm talking about. But as the several constituents were asking me about that, and they may be kind of nitpicky, but I heard what they were saying, and I want to make sure that they feel confident working with your people that you guys are implementing this kind of general part of the code fairly.
We are here to help the citizens of Lawton. So, like I said, if we see anything like that they're kept up and maintained, we will help them, and we will, go along to the next house that actually needs to be brought to our attention for the D&D area.
Okay, John, and as a side note, while we're saying that, is there a possibility that you could, I don't know if any other council members want it, but if you send me a list early before they come on the agenda that you guys are wanting to put on the agenda, so that I can go and take a look at those. I'm having to work in my schedule like 3 days.
We're kind of getting off to
Yes,
an
I know.
item that's not germane,
I know.
okay?
I appreciate what you're saying, and I will
Okay.
stop talking.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Warren?
Council, I just think this gives us a really good tool. I have faith that staff is going to use their best judgment. It gives us an opportunity to get the problem properties in earlier so that we can start addressing those. And like was said, we've always got the final say, so we can prevent anything bad from happening.
Mr. Harris?
John, is there anything that would prohibit the homeowner from removing the windows and from the building and just making it one big wall so that they don't have to worry about windows being broken?
I mean, if it's the homeowner's property, if they want to remove a window and just put a wall, they need to probably check with license and permits to get the correct permits to able to work on their house and to do that.
Is there a motion for,
Mayor?
go ahead, Ms. Chapman.
I was going to make a motion.
Oh, make that motion, please.
I move we adopt this ordinance and waive the reading of the ordinance and read the title only.
Is there a second? And we have a motion and a second. Please read the title.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we change the time limit to 12 months instead of 6.
Okay, there's a substitute motion on the floor. We will deal with that. Is there a second? There's a substitute motion on the floor for a 12-month time frame. Is there a second? Seeing no second, the motion dies, and we deal with the original motion. Please read the title.
An ordinance pertaining to property maintenance code, amending Division 6-5-1-503, Section 6-5-1, Article 6-5, Chapter 6, Lawton City Code 2015, updating the provisions of the chapter to review the number of months allowed for a structure to be boarded to be considered dilapidated by the City Council, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Please vote. And the motion carries 7-1. Brings up staff reports. City Manager?
No staff reports, Mayor.
Thank you. And so do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion.
A motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Gill. Hampton. Portenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman.
Yes, sir.
I'll catch it off.
Kimmy? Well, I feel fairly beat up now. Yeah, that's easy to have an idea about it. Okay, we're back from executive session. Please call the roll.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Gill.
Yes. Executive session, item number 23. Tim.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. 23, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with IAFF Local 1882 and the City of Lawton, specifically whether council desires the city to request negotiations to include a possible amendment to the party's fiscal year 23-24 collective bargaining agreement. So that discussion did occur in executive session. It's my understanding we have a motion.
Council, Mayor, I move to authorize staff to initiate negotiations as staff may deem appropriate for the purpose of amending the party's fiscal year 23-24 collective bargaining agreement.
Have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Please call the roll. Or please vote. Are we voting? Yeah. Did we lose somebody? Ms. Johnson? Okay, well, okay, motion carries 7-0. I feel bad I started without her. I didn't realize she was gone. Item number 24, Tim.
Item 24, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss negotiations with IUPA Local 24 and the City of Lawton, specifically whether the council desires the city to request negotiations to include a possible amendment to the party's fiscal year 23-24 collective bargaining agreement. That conversation did occur in executive session. It's my understanding there is a motion.
Council, Mayor, I move to authorize staff to initiate negotiations as staff may deem appropriate for the purpose of amending the party's fiscal year 23-24 collective bargaining agreement.
Is there a second? We do have a second. Please vote. I need one more vote. Oh, one no. Okay, so motion carries 6-1.
7-1, Mayor.
No, it's 6-1. Ms. Johnson's not here.
Oh, it said 7-1 on the board. Okay.
Fortenbaugh. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Gill. Hampton.